The Kilohearts Bundle is one of the greatest weapons in the Slate Digital All Access Pass, and in less than 10 minutes, I'm going to show you why. First off, there are over 24 kilohertz individual plugin modules called Snap-ins. They cover all the basics like filters, compressors, and reverbs. But then there are also some amazing and unique snap-ins like trance gate, tape stop, saturator, and it has one of the very best transient shapers I've ever heard. But here is where things get cool. Kilohearts also has 2 host plugins for its snap-ins where you can use them to make more complex custom effects. First is Snap Heap. You can see we have 4 columns to stack the effects. And by default, the processing happens in a series, meaning each column starting from the left goes into the next one so that all the columns process the signal one after another. Or you can set any of the columns to work in parallel, which means each effects column is processed independently and then summed together like a mixer. Okay, so let's build a custom vocal chop plugin in Snap Heap. Our track is very lush, and we want our vocal chop to add to that vibe. So we're going to start by loading a delay. We'll turn ping pong on and pan the delay so that it's super wide. We'll turn up the duck amount so that the delayed signal ducks a bit when there's new signal coming in. This will help keep the vocal chop clear. Now we need to make it more interesting. So we're going to load up some formant filters in the next 2 columns and set these columns to parallel so that each of these formant filters is processing the signal at the same time, then summing it back together. Let's play with these and hear what we can get. These formant filters are pushing the presence of this vocal chop in a way that makes it even more interesting in the mix. Now one last thing, I can assign an LFO to modulate any of the parameters. If you've never used an LFO, it's just a simple way of automatically changing a parameter. So we'll connect this sine wave LFO to our formant filter position. By changing the rate, it changes the speed of how fast this parameter modulates or changes. So that sounds really cool, but I want to make it easy to tweak. So Snap Heap lets me set up macros in the macro section. A macro is a customizable knob that can control a lot of other parameters so that it makes it easier to dial the effects in. For this vocal chop, I want to make 2 macros. One is going to control the delay, and the other is going to control the amount of our formant filter. I click the macro circle next to the blank macro knob, and then click and drag on the control I want the macro to adjust. So now macro 1 will control the mix amount of my delay, and we'll set macro 2 to control the mix amount of both of my parallel buses. And we can label these macros easily as well. Now let's hear that vocal chop in the full mix. Okay, so we've made our custom Snap Heap effect. Now I'll show you the other Kilohearts host called Multipass. Multipass allows you to stack the snap-ins in a 5-band multiband processor. So we're going to take the mix we just used in the previous example, and we're going to fatten the lows by adding a limiter. The low mids are okay, so we'll skip to the first midband, and we'll add the transient shaper to add more punch. The high mids are a bit sterile, So we'll add the distortion module, choose saturate, and then mix that back subtly so we have some subtle saturation. And then for the highs, we'll add a fast compressor to keep the highs really smooth. Now we'll create a macro to control the whole process. We'll call this process multi-master. Then we'll assign the macros to all of the mix knobs on each of the 4 processing columns. Now we can add more or less of the effect on each part of the mix. So that's a quick masterclass on the incredible Kilohearts Bundle. This should be enough to get you started, but as you can imagine, there is way more to explore with different LFO shapes, pitch followers, and more fun stuff that you can explore in our more advanced Kilohearts classes. Thanks for watching.
All of the incredible Kilohearts processors now available in the Slate Digital All Access Pass, which includes thousands of dollars worth of award-winning plugins, the industry's most game-changing synth, Anna 2, and masterclass courses from some of the biggest names in the industry, like Just Blaze, Justice League, and Chris Lord Alge, starting at just $9.99 per month.